Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast. Today's show is certainly going to be a fun, joyous one because we have joining us today a wonderful yoga instructor who has a wonderful zest for life, a contributor to Women's Health magazine, a contributor to Gaiam, Yoga Journal, the Huffington Post, and in fact, even a co-founder of Poses for Paws, which is an organization dedicated to raising money for animals shelters through yoga. Well, who would have thought? So, ladies and gentlemen, we have an innovator, we have a yoga instructor, we have a health enthusiast, we have Kathryn Budig with us. Kathryn, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jonathan.
How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And Kathryn, let's just cut to the chase here. And I want to know how you went from Little Kathryn, which actually, folks, if you want to see Little Kathryn, you can see her. She's at Kathryn Budig, BUDIG.com, and the me page. I see Little Kathryn, and then I see Adult Kathryn. Tell me about the journey and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm still pretty level. I'm only 5'2", and I made it very far. It was a really interesting adventure that was unplanned. I grew up being a tomboy who wanted to be about 30 different things, ended up falling into theater and really loving it. So I stuck with acting all the way through my collegiate career, and I found yoga when I was in college and really, really loved it. So I decided I'm going to move to Los Angeles where I can pursue my acting career, but also train how to become a yoga teacher. So it's something that will take care of me in between auditions, and quickly got to Hollywood and recognized that that wasn't the kind of community I wanted to be in, but I really loved the yoga community and the health world. So it was a very accidental career falling into my yoga path that I am grateful for every single day.
Well, one of the things that I love about your story, Kathryn, is that you just describe here the yoga path and the yoga lifestyle. And one of the things that I myself have practiced yoga very informally, not nearly to I cannot do the amazing things that you demonstrate on your website, the acrobatic feats, but simply more as a way to so often exercise is portrayed, especially on infomercials, as this chainsaw. Like it's like a jackhammer. And like if you were to describe modern culture, it actually seems very chainsaw and jackhammer-like. And if you look at when humans thrive, it's not chainsaw and jackhammer-like. So yoga seems to be a way to heal the body and help center the mind onto that less chainsaw, sledgehammer approach to life in general. What do you think?
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, even the comment about kind of the acrobatic feats, there's so many different styles of yoga. And, if you were someone who's really athletic and driven and type A, and those are the kind of poses that you want to do, that's definitely there for you. But, if you have that kind of monkey mind that's always going, and the jackhammer, as you like to put it, there's also a style of yoga where you can go and really get out of that craziness and back into a place where you feel like yourself and you feel centered. And I think that's why yoga has survived for so long, and that it's so broadly accessible to people, is that there's a type and style for everyone.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. It's just having that style for everybody, and you can get the workout that you want. You can sweat, you can get stronger, you can lose weight, whatever it is that you're after, but also mentally have what it takes to stick with it. It really starts to sculpt your mind and calm you down.
And that sculpting the mind for me is such a critical component, because it seems with yoga, at least in my experience, I'm curious to see what you think. With other exercises, you see this all the time. You see an individual on the treadmill, and they're not there. They're watching a movie. They're somewhere else. They're not engaged in what they're doing. Or they've got their 12-pound dumbbells, and they're doing curls while they talk to their friend and have one eye on the television. If you try to do that while you're doing yoga, it ain't going to end well. Like, yoga focuses you to be there and to focus on what you're doing. And that's pretty important in life in general, I would say.
Without a doubt. And I mean, I obviously yoga is my main source of everything. But I was going to say workout, but it goes so far beyond that. But, I do Pilates. I like the bar method. But the thing that I notice whenever I'm doing anything else for a workout purpose is I'll be doing it and my driving force is like, wow, my ass is going to look so good from doing it. And that's what keeps me doing it. And that's about it. And that's not enough for me. And the beauty of yoga is like, yeah, I know my body's going to feel really good, but everything is going to feel better mentally. And I'm challenged by the practice and I like where it brings me, and it brings me into some frustrating places. It brings me into relaxing places, and it really becomes a lifestyle. And I feel like that's what's so accessible at yoga versus I'm going to go do 20 reps of this. And like you said, zone out. And that doesn't call my name. It doesn't keep me wanting to come back. And yoga is something that I can do every day because of the accessibility of it.
What I feel like in some ways it's also building off of that. It's a celebration of the body, and everything we're saying here is yoga is not easy. Like anyone who would say, well, like yoga, that's not a real workout, has never actually done yoga, right? It absolutely will kick your butt if you do it correctly. But the point is there's many ways to kick your butt, and there's many ways to get sore. People often tell me, well, I'm doing this crazy jackhammer approach to exercise, and it must be working because it makes me sore. And I'm like, well, if you take a baseball bat and you smack your leg with it, you will be sore. That doesn't mean it's actually helping you. And I think that sometimes there's a ratio with exercise of like potential for harm and potential for healing. And with yoga, it seems like, of course, there's risks associated with anything, but yoga is focused on a control and a focus method that a lot of forms of exercise, it's almost characterized by being out of control. What do you think?
Well, yoga is way more of a slow twitch exercise in general. So you're not going to get into the faster jumping around, kicking, dynamic, fast twitch workout, which if you don't have proper alignment is obviously going to lead towards injury quickly. And the beauty about the yoga practice, assuming that you have a good instructor and someone to take care of you, is that you do move thoughtfully through the postures, and everything is also connected to your breath. So you're hyper aware of what state you're in, your breathing, what your body is like. And that makes a really big difference as well. Instead of that, I've got my earphones in, I'm not really listening, I'm just moving, I'm not paying attention to my body. So, that applies to no matter what kind of workout you're doing. Take the time to stop and acknowledge what's happening instead of zoning out, because lots of people are getting hurt. And they're going to get hurt in yoga too, but they're normally the people who are zoning out and not really paying attention to their breath anymore.
Absolutely. But it seems like yoga as a macro exercise or just a lifestyle methodology is one that's sustainable. One of the things I look back in my life, and I was really, really into football. Like I loved football. I was good at football. I was going to play college football. And then I got seriously injured. And it breaks my heart because also, like, forget about the fact that I got injured. I loved football, and I put a bunch of time into getting good at football. You can't just really go outside and play football. I mean, you can throw a football, you can play flag football, but anyone who's actually played football with pads that is a different sport than just throwing a football around. And I'm envious of people who, for example, like basketball or like yoga. It's something, it's a hobby, it's an outlet that you can do forever.
Right.
And I think that's so, if you're going to spend your time doing something, spend your time doing something that if you become an expert at it, you can keep doing. What do you think?
It's an investment in the rest of your life, without a doubt. I feel the same way. I get jealous of runners where all they need is a pair of shoes and a door that opens. And that's do it. And that's so cool. And I've tried to get into it, but I always struggle with it. And, with yoga, technically you don't even really need a yoga mat to be able to do yoga. And yeah, you see prenatal mommies doing yoga, and then you see people in their 90s and their hundreds doing chair yoga. And it really is an investment in your future, an investment in your present, and an investment in those to come to inspire the people before you as well. And it's amazing. And I tell my students that all the time, because I'll definitely get a lot of the type A people who want to do the fancy stuff and they want to do it now. But you have the rest of your life to practice yoga and the rest of your life to do these poses. And assuming you're not going to blow your knee out trying to do something you're not ready for, then maybe you'll get it sooner. So it's also this beautiful lesson in patience, which I think all of us could use a pretty hefty serving of in our lives. So can you be patient with your practice? Can you be patient with your body and recognize that you do indeed have the rest of your life to do this?
That focus on patience and focus on the long term, I really think could be the single most, the thing I like most about yoga, because if you look at the devolution of the pursuit of health in our culture, because right, like we've tried harder and harder over the past 40 years to become healthy, and it seems the harder we've tried, the less healthy we've gotten. And it seems it's because we have this focus on the short term, like what can I do to become healthy right now?
Right.
And anything that says do this right now and you will be healthy tomorrow is a bit like saying plant this seed in the ground right now and the fully grown plant will be grown tomorrow. Like that is not how living organisms work. They don't change on a dime like that. So, and yoga embraces that. And I don't know, I've never seen like the quick fix yoga program ever. Is there one that tries to claim that? I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it's out there. You know, there's lose 5 pounds in 5 days and blah, 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 blah. And we are a society that's looking for quick fixes in general. And it's like a panic. And, you know, when oh crap, I was out all weekend and I drank a ton of alcohol and I ate really rich food. So I'm just going to juice cleanse all week long so I can get back to where I was. Meanwhile, you're totally shocking your body by doing all these really dramatic things to it. But I think we're also a society where we feel like we need to work out for at least an hour and we need to burn this amount of calories and we need to sweat this much to make it count, to make it feel like we did something where we're not going to feel guilty anymore. And I think a lot of the choices we make are surrounded by guilt. And, you know, if you can recognize that even if you can take 20 minutes out of your day and breathe and move or do your workout or whatever it is, that's going to serve your body and you're going to get so much further with where you want to be if you can move into it slowly and thoughtfully and consistently instead of these crash diets and these get this now. And I think it creates stress and then your cortisol levels go up and then guess what? You get fat. So,
Kathryn, that's exactly it. There are these quote unquote health pursuits, which are so amazingly stressful that they are going to the canonical example I give is you take a busy working mother who's already stressed out and sleep deprived and she's like, I'm going to get healthy. And she looks in the mainstream media and what she concludes, because this is what she's told, is that she should wake up at 4 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. and that she should go run on pavement. And she's 50 pounds overweight. So forget about whether or not running is good for you at all in the first place. Banging against the pavement when you're already 50 pounds overweight is probably really not a good idea, especially if you don't know how to run. And then you try to go do it for an hour and then you come home and you're craving all kinds of sugars and sweets because aerobic exercise tends to cause those cravings in a lot of people. So she's getting 2 hours less of sleep. She's hungry as hell. She's more prone to binging, and it's all in the pursuit of health. Wait, what?
I know. It's so screwed up. It's so screwed up. And I think that people forget, like, think about what health means. Health is goodness. It's wellness. And that assumes that you feel good when you're doing it. And for some reason, we have it in our head that we have to work ourselves so hard that we feel bad in order to feel healthy, which is just comical, you know, and we do the yoga practice because it makes us feel better. So choose to do physical outlets and put food into your body that makes you feel better, not like you're making a sacrifice.
Yeah, you don't want to have this adversarial. Absolutely. It's not about an adversarial relationship with your body. It's not about a punishing of the body. It's about a healing and the empowering of the body, correct?
Totally, 100%. But we're gluttons for punishment, you know? And I wish more people could wrap their brain around that working out and what you eat, it should taste good. It should feel good. It's not a punishment and it's not a quick fix. And it's called patience, and just be good to yourself, be patient, and you'll get results. Just don't mark your calendar.
Absolutely. Don't mark your calendar, and maybe don't even look on it at like this, where am I today versus yesterday, and where am I versus tomorrow. Think about it in terms of, if I keep this up, where will I be a year from now?
Totally.
If I keep this up, where will I be 2 years from now? Because that is such a more realistic and just, if we just, even on a general scale, we try to do these things in life, even professionally. And I think we tend to overestimate what we could do in a day or in a week. but we tend to underestimate what we could accomplish in a year if we can be consistent.
Yeah. And it doesn't, even if it's 4 days a week, 3 days a week, just some kind of consistency and not beating yourself up when, especially like the mother, that's the prime example. Someone who's got little kids at home or full grown kids, and that's a full-time job, just taking care of your family. And then we're telling them, go out and hit the pavement. It's like, can you get 20 minutes in while your kid is in the room with you doing something, just something? And that's hopefully going to at least give them some kind of peace of mind, because we need to get the stress down to really get into shape. If the stress doesn't go away, the health is still going to be far, far away.
Absolutely, Kathryn. Well, what are some tips? Let's say certainly there is I'm going to find a yoga instructor and I'm going to go do yoga and I'm going to get my mat and I'm going to get my awesome yoga pants and I'm going to be a yogi. If I'm not quite there yet, what are some steps I could take to maybe dapple in some of the benefits yoga can give me without becoming a full-on yogi?
Sure. I mean, obviously, I'm a big proponent of getting into a studio where you can actually have a teacher's eyes on you, just so that you make sure your form is correct. That way there's no room for injury when you're doing your postures. I know that's not available to everyone. So if you don't have the blessing of being close to a good studio, there are a lot of really cool online options. Or if you're embarrassed, a lot of people tell me, I don't want to go to yoga because I don't know how to do it. And I don't want to be that person in the classroom who's a train wreck and everyone's looking at me. So there are a lot of great DVDs out there. I have a DVD that's geared towards a beginner section and a more intermediate, so you can get stronger at home working just with that DVD. There's also a really great website called yogaglow.com, and they have tons of classes. And so there's 5-minute classes, 20-minute classes, 60, 90-minute classes. So it can fit into your schedule. And that way there's no pressure to, I'm not going to make it to the class on time and I don't have 90 minutes in my day today, so I guess I'm just not going to do yoga. And then you can, put on your little 10-minute class or whatever it is and still, okay, I did some yoga today. I'm getting closer to understanding it. And maybe tomorrow, if I have more time, I'll do 20. And then the day after that, I'll do 30. And you can build up that way without that. Because, it's so easy to not go to yoga or to not work out. I mean, all we need is one little excuse and we're like, I guess I'm just not going to be able to do it today. Oh, well. So, the more things that we can do to go, wow, I guess I really do have 10 minutes to do something. And it's on my computer, which most of us are probably already sitting in front of anyway. So, can you set it down, put on something that you can move in? It doesn't have to be yoga clothing, just something that allows you to move and go for it. And just make a commitment every day, just something. Don't tell yourself how much or where, just something.
I love it. And Kathryn, what are your thoughts on, I think there's so many, let's call it discrete elements of yoga. There's becoming focused with your breath. There's enhancing balance. There's strengthening your muscles. There's just calming your mind. And there's even increased flexibility. What do you think about for an individual, like let's say his name is J. Bailor. Wait, that's too obvious. Let's say Jonathan B. And let's say that he did more traditional yoga for a while, liked it, but really found that it was the flexibility aspects that, for example, completely eliminated all lower back pain that he had for years. So now this fictional character, just on his own, really focuses on maintaining flexibility, but also really enjoys strength training and finds it to be a cool yin and yang relationship where he can deadlift 400 pounds, but he can also, from a cold, without being warmed up, bend over at the waist and touch his palms to the ground without bending his knees. What do you think about an approach like that? Just hypothetically.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, who is this man? Who is this mystery man? And that case, that mystery man's case is really common. And especially for people who come from athletic backgrounds, they love yoga because you've spent your life strengthening and tightening and contracting, and then you finally get to go in the opposite direction, like you put it, the yin and yang, and getting both sides of the coin, because the key to being truly healthy is finding that balance between flexibility and strength. We don't just want to be flexible. We don't just want to be strong. We want to find the happy medium. So, some people may go to yoga who are little wet spaghetti noodles and they're really flexible and they have no muscle strength. So they're going to get more out of the strength part of the practice, and vice versa. You'll get someone who's been an athlete their entire life who goes in who can't get past their kneecaps when they start to lean forward. So, you can alter the practice to fit you like a lovely piece of couture. So it's exactly how you want it to fit your body. And you just find the perfect class and teacher who can help guide you in that direction.
I love that analogy, Kathryn, of the perfect piece of couture that fits you. And it also reminds me of one of the other benefits that really help me to stick with flexibility, because at the surface, especially for guys, being flexible, like not in terms of your personality, but in terms of your physicality, doesn't necessarily seem like sexy. Like, because I'm more flexible, I'm going to be more attractive, which is a motivator for many of us. And even if we don't want to admit it, but if you actually look at the science, I'm going to geek out here for a second, the science of attraction, for example, how fluid a person moves. Like, if you look at a very old person, 100-year-old person, when they walk, they're very stiff, and it's a very belabored movement. And if you look at a child, in some ways, they're characterized by a fluid movement. So what these researchers have seen through various clinical psychological experiments is actually the style with which we move and the fluidity of our movement. And if we were to drop something, the alacrity we have at picking it up and popping back up, that gives a perception of vitality and youth that on a subconscious level drives attraction quite compellingly. So just because you're not necessarily shedding pounds, which again, that's its own whatever, let's talk about that later. There are other not obvious benefits, which I can tell you, you can really, really transform not only your mind, but also your body and also the way you're perceived by increasing flexibility and strength. What do you think?
Well, I also think, like you pointed out, that maybe it's not as sexy for men to garner flexibility, but the imagery that came up in my head when you were talking about that is like a panther or a cat, and how strong they are. Like, you would not want to screw with a panther.
Yep.
But think about the prowess and the flexibility and the agility that they have. And cats are always associated with sexiness. Like, think of Catwoman, for example, just that they have the strength and the flexibility. And so I do think that is an incredibly alluring thing for everyone. And even if someone is really, really strong, man or woman, it's not sexy if you're so strong and so bulky that you kind of have to walk like a robot.
Yep.
You're so built up. And I see that happen to people all the time. And I mean, I'm just going to go there for a second too. Like, in the bedroom, it's definitely going to pay off for women and men to have more flexibility in their bodies, just for romantic relationships and allowing you to have more fluidity in that part of your life. So and the strength that you get, it's really not going to benefit you if you drop something and you can't lean over and even pick it up. If your bicep's going to get in the way of your kneecap on the way down. So it's truly, the word in yoga is called sama, and it's a Sanskrit word for balance. And that's truly the goal of yoga, is to create balance in our lives, in our body, in our mind, and to be able to see both sides of the coin. And I hope that for men and for women. And I know that in this day and age, it's still definitely a female predominated activity. More and more men are coming into it. I have a lot of male students, but I hope men also realize that ladies really like to go to yoga with their boyfriends a lot. And if you don't have a girlfriend, there's a lot of pretty girls in spandex in those rooms. So you're missing out. So, I really encourage any men who are listening to this to get into the practice. You're not going to be considered a pansy because you're doing yoga. It's really, truly impressive, and it's going to make you feel really good. And it's going to appeal to the feminine side. The ladies will like seeing that in a guy as well, a good balance.
Well, and Kathryn, the irony is that really the consistent trend we've seen over the past 20 years in the research of exercise physiology is that the stereotypically female-dominated forms of exercise, let's say like a yoga and a Pilates, and the stereotypical male-dominated forms of exercise, strength training, like the single best thing men who strength train could do is start doing some of the female stuff, and that females need to come over and do some strength training, right? It's not like, again, let's not do a middle school dance approach where the girls are over here and the guys are over here. Like, let's come together. Let's dance.
Oh, gosh. No, totally though. It's so true. And so maybe we can help each other. Do our little CrossFit with yoga involved.
I love it, Kathryn. Well, what's next for you? What's next on the horizon?
I just had a book that came out in October. It's called The Women's Health Big Book of Yoga, and I'm looking to write a follow-up book on that. So that's kind of in the works as we speak. And I'll probably be filming a few more DVDs this summer too. So hopefully there'll be some more DVDs available. Probably next year is when they'll come out. And then aside from that, I travel. I have a huge travel schedule. I'm all around the world teaching workshops and conferences. So you can check out my website to see if I will be in your neck of the woods. And am I missing anything? I'm getting married next year. It's kind of exciting.
Congratulations. Certainly. Very exciting.
But yeah, that's what's going on right now. I
love it. Well, folks, if you want to learn more about Kathryn, her website is Kathryn Budig. That's KATHRYNB as in boy, UDIG.com. You can also find her all over social media. And Kathryn, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for sharing your time and insight with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Well, thanks again. And listeners, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. And remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Talk with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.